Hello from UWC International. This is our second Facebook Live event. It's 9 a.m. in London. Welcome to this live event, and thank you for joining us wherever you are joining us from. We'll start with a quick round of introductions, and then we'll get into about an hour of answering your questions that have been coming in. If you weren't on yesterday's live event, that event has been recorded and is available on Facebook, and will also be available on YouTube later on today. My name is Matthias Rosenberg. I'm the head of school and college development at United World Colleges International here in London. My connection to UWC goes back a long way. I'm an alum of UWC. I had the privilege of going to Chun, United World College of Hong Kong from 1992 until 1994. I then had the opportunity from 2000 to 2002 to teach at Mahindra United World College in India. And after that, I spent several years as a selector on the German National Committee, which was also a great lot of fun because it enabled me to meet a number of amazing UWC students. I'm joined here by a couple of other alums, and I'll let them introduce themselves.
All right, hello everyone. My name is Sarah Luehrmann, and I just graduated from UWC Thailand this May. So I attended from 2016 to 2018, and I'm currently interning at the UWC International Office. And I'm very excited to be here to answer some questions alongside some other alums, maybe from a different perspective, just because my college time is more recent than theirs. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the next hour we'll be spending together.
Great.
And my name is Izzat Shamroukh. I went to Atlantic College, UWC Atlantic College in 2006, 2008. I work at the UWC International as the Global Selection Program Officer. I'll be answering questions more on the Global Selection Program, but also I hope on other aspects as well. I hope that this session today will be useful and helpful in answering as many questions as we can. So please share, let everyone know. Please ask all the questions you want.
Yes, great. And you can, of course, ask questions by posting them in the comment thread for this live stream. So I'll kick us off with a couple of questions that have come in yesterday, which we weren't able to answer. There's a question here from Marcel, who asks, how do you find the right teacher to write your school reference? Most UWC applications, or all UWC applications, involve a couple of references, usually from a teacher, and a second reference from a non-teacher, so somebody who knows you really well outside of school. So the first answer to the question is you need to find a teacher and somebody, a non-teacher. Finding the right referee is an important step in your application. You need to find somebody who knows you well, and you also need to find somebody who is willing to give you a reference. And to put yourself in the best position for that, you need to approach them early, because they will need some time to think about your reference and to write it. So find somebody who knows you well and find them early. We also have a blog post about references for UWC applications, which we will pull up on the screen just now. So we have a blog section on the website which has a lot of different topics, and one of the topics is the one that's being pointed out right now: tips for getting winning references for your UWC application. So if you're wondering about references, have a read of that blog post. Okay, good. Let's go into a second question. There's a question here from Hossam. He asks, have the applications to the Egyptian National Committee opened yet? So I'm going to answer that question in a more generic way. because people apply not just from Egypt to UWC, they apply through about 155 national committees across the world. The best way to find out whether applications are open and also what the deadlines are is to head to our website. The website has a page which we'll call up in just a moment, which lists all of our national committees. Okay, so from our website, uwc.org, you head to that section there, and then you have on the left-hand side a link to UWC national committees, and there is also a drop-down menu with all the different national committees that are part of UWC. So through that, you find out how to contact them, you can find their website, and you can take it from there and ask them any questions that you might have. So I hope that answers your question, Hossam. Third question comes from Safar. How crucial are social and extracurricular activities in the application? And maybe I'll hand that over to Sarah to answer, yeah?
Sure, I'll answer that. So social and, what was the word? Extracurricular activities are quite important for basically not because you don't have to have saved the world in order to have good extracurricular activities or social activities. It's important that you're involved with activities that you're passionate about and that you're interested in, and it's more the things that you learn through those activities that will bring something to your application. But they don't have to be, you don't have to be involved in a big political party, for example. It could also be smaller social activities that you take part in within your family or your smaller communities, the area that you live in, your school perhaps. So think smaller, think about how you can impact the environment around you in your communities.
And Izzat, what would you say, how should an applicant talk about their extracurricular activities in their application?
I'd suggest that you don't have to have something that is professional and certificates. It can be a simple thing from the environment, from your neighborhood. As simple as playing football with your friends or activities that you do maybe outside of school, whichever it is, music.
Yeah. And what's important is to show who you are within that activity. So what role or what roles you play, why you are passionate about that particular topic or that particular area, because that enables those who read your application to get to know you. Yes, and it's very important that you come across as who you are in your UWC application. We have a question here from Vincent. Hi, Vincent. Thank you for joining us, and also hello to Selena. And there's so thank you for joining us as well. We'll go to Vincent's question. He wants some tips for interview and some do's and don'ts. Interviews are part of the second stage of the UWC application, and they tend to happen during selection weekends or selection days. And we'll share with you some do's and don'ts. You want to cover that off or start?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah?
I think the best advice to give you is to just be yourself. Relax and show the panel that you're interviewing with who you are. Don't try to be something else. Don't try to be something that the panel would like you to be or what you would imagine that the panel expects you to be. You are already amazing for making it to the interview stage, so just rest and be yourself.
I think that's a great tip.
Yeah.
I mean, in the interview, the selectors want to get to know you as a person. So, and interviewers tend to be quite good at picking up if somebody has maybe over-prepared for the interview. Yeah. And one of the things, or hasn't prepared for the interview, correct. One of the things we say to people is to try and relax and be yourself. That's really very important. We are joined by Noviani. Welcome, Noviani, and also by Izzy. Hello, Izzy. And I should just say that we'll be recapping the questions that have been covered. Izzat will do that every few minutes. And if you need a reminder, you've joined UWC International on our second Facebook Live event this Tuesday, the 11th of December. We are recording this event as well, so you can go back and watch again to see what you've missed over the last few minutes. Let's turn to Noviani's question. Does UWC provide a full scholarship? Who wants to take that one?
I can go ahead with this.
Go for it, yeah.
So UWC provides a different type, a lot of different types of scholarships. So, for example, I have received a full scholarship that also covered pocket money and airfares during the breaks. But then there is it goes from, let's say, 20% of a scholarship up to maybe 80%, and sometimes to a full scholarship. So, and that is based on a financial means testing, which I think Matthias can tell you a bit more about.
I'm happy to explain that, yeah. So it's important to remember that the awarding of scholarship is a separate process to the selection process, yeah. So once somebody has been found suitable for UWC, we then talk about money with the family. And our expectation is that based on a financial needs assessment, the family will contribute what they can to the education that the applicant is receiving. We do this for two reasons. We want this to be fair, and we also want a certain solidarity. Okay, so if we assess a family to be able to contribute, say, 10% of the cost of the education, it means that the 10% that they are contributing, we can actually allocate scholarship to somebody else who might need scholarship support as well. So doing the financial needs assessment and contributing to your own education actually also enables other people to take part in a UWC education. There are a couple more types of scholarships apart from the ones that Izzat has mentioned. We also have unfunded places available at schools and colleges, and that means that the family contributes the whole of the cost of the education. Just a quick note about the Global Selection Program. There are no scholarships available if you apply through the Global Selections Program, because those who apply through that program opt out of financial means testing. And when you apply through the Global Selections Program, you make a or your family makes a commitment that they will pay the full cost of your education. I'm sure we'll have an opportunity to talk more about the GSP later on.
Absolutely.
Selina, good afternoon or good morning or good evening. I don't know where you're joining us from. Selina asks, how many subjects do we take during the IB, and what does SL and HL mean?
Should I answer that?
Please.
Fresh out of the IB.
You're the expert.
Yeah. So you will be taking 6 core subjects. 3 of them will be at SL, which stands for standard level, and 3 of them will be at HL, which stands for higher level. And like the name already indicates, your standard levels will be like a less rigorous course. You will cover a little bit less content, whereas your HLs are the kind of ones you concentrate in more. And you will be taking subjects from, there are 6 groups, ranging from languages to maths to sciences, and you will be taking 1 from each of those areas. So apart from that, you will also be taking 3 other elements that the IB curriculum sets out for you. One is theory of knowledge, which is an additional course that kind of goes more, that explores where our knowledge comes from, how we learn things. And then you will be also writing a 4,000-word research paper, which is called the extended essay, which allows you to investigate an interest, an academic interest that you have, and you'll be also taking part in creativity, activity, and service, which is called CAS, which allows you to develop yourself as a learner outside of the classroom. So that is a bit of an overview of the IB. Do you have anything
Fantastic,
to add?
thank you, that's great. I'm going to ask Izzat to recap the topics we've covered so far in just a minute. First, I want to say hello to Marta and also to Valeria. Thank you for joining us, and Zeli and Ali. So thank you for being here with us. This is the Facebook Live event from UWC International, and here's Izzat with a recap of what we've covered.
Okay, so if your questions are about any of those, it's already covered over in the this live video. So we've covered some interview tips, to-dos and what not to do, how to get good references for your UWC application, how to contact your national committee and get more information about deadlines or scholarships. Then we went into more information on scholarships and financial means testing and how what are the types of scholarships that UWC has. And then we went into subjects of IB and what does standard level and higher level mean, which Sarah covered perfectly, I thought.
Fantastic, thank you for that. So, question from Izzy. Thanks for this question, Izzy. Izzy asks, are all interviews in person, or can they also be over Skype or other video apps? Generally speaking, the interviews during the second stage of the selection are in person. They are organized either by your national committee or by the global selection program. I am aware that some national committees conduct their interviews over Skype and remotely, but generally speaking, they will be face-to-face. The best way to find out is to contact the national committee either of your country of residence or your country of citizenship. Okay, another question from Zeli. Can you be selected in 2 countries? And if so, if you are selected in one country, will your other application expire? Great question, because it can be a little bit confusing as to where you can and can't and where you should and shouldn't apply. Very important, you can only apply once. So applying in 2 countries is not an option. So you need to choose which country you are applying through, or you might apply through the global selection program. But it's very important that you only apply once. If you are unsuccessful, you are able to apply again in the next year, but you cannot apply twice in the same year or to 2 different countries. So it's a really important point. Zeli, thank you for raising that. Do you want to take that question?
We have a question from Mata, and I think Vincent had a very similar question. So the question is, what about vacations? Do UWC students have the opportunity to return to their countries for vacations? And the answer is yes, of course. All UWC schools and colleges have holidays. Most of them have a December break, and all of them have a December break and a summer break. And then some schools and colleges have different breaks throughout the year, but throughout the major breaks, most of the schools will close, so you will have the chance to go home. But if for some reason you cannot go home or don't want to go home, there's always other opportunities. Many schools offer host family programs, or there are alternatives, but throughout the smaller breaks, I think from my personal experience, a lot of students opt to stay in their schools or go on project weeks or travel. There's always lots of opportunities throughout the smaller breaks to get engaged with the community and do activities and service projects. So for many of my holidays, I stayed in the school just because we had so much fun. Yeah.
Okay. And did you go home several times?
I tried not to go home as much as possible because there was very good invites from my friends that I met at UWC to some cool places and to do a lot of interesting stuff. I think one of them was going to the Alps for skiing, and that was wonderful to stay with the family over there, and it was a great experience.
Great. What about you? Did you?
I went home for the December break in my first year, just to see my family. But the second year for the December break, I went traveling with a few friends in Thailand. So yes. Right, Vincent has another question. Does the college provide any opportunity to take us on a trip to any other country? And in college, can we go out in the evening? Can we go on an outing? So there's two questions here, I think. So trips within the region, and then what happens during the evenings and the weekends, I suppose. I'll kick us off. Have a think about your answer as well to the maybe the evening and weekend bit. I want to mention that as Lipo Chun, for example, in Hong Kong, they have a China week where students are encouraged to engage with China, to go into mainland China, to get to know the country and do projects there. So there are some trips that are organized within the region. The other opportunity to get to know the region or the country is during project week. So our schools run project weeks where students go off and do projects. So this could be a week's worth of volunteering or doing an outdoor activity, going camping, that sort of thing. I remember going on a project week, going kayaking in the waters around Hong Kong in the north, which was excellent. Kayaking and camping, so it was quite challenging but good fun. So outings and evenings at UWC.
That's a good question, and I think all schools and colleges obviously have opportunities for you to do trips in the evenings or on the weekends. A lot of them are probably organized by the school as well, so like school trips, but with your friends you will also be able to go maybe into the next city. But I think it does depend where your college is, because some of our UWCs are in quite remote locations. So for example, Red Cross Nordic in Norway is quite far away from the next city, which is Bergen, I think, is the largest city, and it would just take you a while to get there. I think, whereas in Robert Bosch, which is in Freiburg, for example, the next city would be quite close. So I think it just depends on where you go, but even in the colleges that are a bit more remote, there will still be things to do in the evenings. We have lots of cultural shows and activities, whether it's just a board game night or whether you're cooking with your friends. There will always be something to do from my experience.
Fantastic.
Never bored in the evenings.
And maybe give us an answer also to Ali's question, which is, does the year contain studying in the summer? So what happens academically, I suppose, between the 2 years?
Yes. I think depending on your subject choice, obviously, but there is some studying to be done over summer, but it is quite up to the discretion of your own perspective on how much you need to do. I think your extended essay, which is a research piece, a good chunk of that will be written over the summer. But other than that, you are quite free to do a lot of things. So I don't think you will be limited by that. I don't remember my summer being stuck inside and having to study the whole summer. So it's about time management. I think you could also do nothing all summer and still get away with it.
And I suppose by summer we mean July and August, right, of the calendar year.
Yeah, the summer holidays.
Because that's winter in some parts of the world.
Oh, okay,
so just,
sorry.
Just being international here.
We're going to try and ask a question about the summer here.
Okay.
Can you join a short course during the summer while you're at UWC?
Yeah, there's nothing stopping you from
So that
using
could be an option too.
That's an amazing idea,
yes, absolutely. So maybe a couple of words about UWC short courses. They are our sort of short program offering, and I think it's up for everybody to see right now our short course page on uwc.org. It shows all the UWC short courses that are available. Short courses are organized either by schools and colleges or by national committees or by alumni. And they offer an opportunity for a week, up to 3 weeks, to explore a specific topic that is close to our mission. So we've got one coming up in Eswatini, or Swaziland as it used to be called Together for Development, which explores questions of development, and that's being held at Waterford Kamhlaba, our school in Southern Africa. So short courses are a great opportunity to do UWC in a sort of potted and short form without the academics, without the IB. So short courses don't come with an academic certificate, but they are fantastic opportunities to explore really important topics.
Okay, should we go to the next question? That's from Ali. I think this is the second question from Ali.
Hi, Ali.
Hi, Ali. If the applicant succeeded in the interview, what does she has to do after it? Um, There's different timeline between the different national committees, or if you apply via the global selection program. I think it is best to contact your national committee and ask about when do you hear back from them. It is different across the routes of applications. With the global selection program, we tend to respond within 1 or 2 weeks maximum after the face-to-face interview or the global selection day. Um, but it will be different across different national committees.
Great, yeah. Good. Let's have a quick recap of the things that we've covered.
Great. One was about applying double applications, applying whether through 2 national committees or through the national committee route and the global selection program. The other one was about holiday breaks and whether students can go back home or do what options do they have. The next was about project weeks and trips and outs in the evenings around the college. Another was on the summer options, and we covered also a little bit about short courses. If you'd like to know more, you can recap and see a little bit before. Yeah, shall we take the next question?
Sure.
So Valeria asks, what do UWC application committee look for in the application?
Okay. You want to cover that, is that?
Yes.
Yeah? Go for it.
I will try. I think what we try to look for is assess applicants on 5 core selection criteria, and I think that will come up on the screen shortly. We will ask to assess those 5 selection criteria through different approaches. Some will be it's different across national committees and obviously the global selection program, but in general it will be either in group activities and then some interviews. Some will ask you for example, the global selection program will have 2 types of interviews. One as a personal one, a question and answer, classical type, and then the other will be more a project that you would prepare beforehand called the Better World Project. I mean, mainly is to go for authenticity, be yourself, and try and show that you are living the UWC values and these selection criteria in your daily life and what you do on a regular basis.
Yeah. Great, thank you. So those 5 core selection criteria for your WC are up on the screen now, and they're on our website if you want to have a closer read of that. Kalisa, thank you for joining us and welcome. You asked the following question: how can international students apply? So that's a really interesting question. What I'm going to assume, Kalisa, that the question is for students that don't have a national committee or who live in a country where they can't apply through the local national committee. For those students, there's several options. If you're not sure about which national committee applies to you, make sure that you check the national committee in your country of residence and also in the country or countries of nationality. So if you have one or several nationalities, do check whether the national committee of your nationality allows you to apply. So even say Belgium, for example, even if you don't live in Belgium, you might be able to apply through the Belgian National Committee. And that's just an example. So the best way to find that out is via our National Committee's webpage, which we showed a few minutes ago. The other option that exists for students who are able to opt out of financial means assessment is the Global Selection Program, because anyone can apply through the Global Selections program as long as they are opting out of financial needs assessment and do not need any financial assessment. So I hope that answers that question there.
I'll add one more point.
Please.
Just quickly. If you are an international student that cannot apply by the national committee, and you need a scholarship, so you can't apply via the Global Selection Program, please get in touch on the email that will come up on the screen soon, which is apply1@uwcio.uwc.org, and we'll try and direct you to the right school or national committee and help that we can provide.
Yeah. And also up on the screen right now is our page which outlines the different application options. So this is uwc.org/IBDP, and that shows how the UWC Global Selection Program and the National Committee selections compare. And there are some frequently asked questions about both of the processes. It's important that you read this thoroughly before you decide which route you take. Because as I said earlier to another question, you can only apply once in any given year.
Should we take Izzy's question next? So Izzy asks, do you have to organize your CAS activities yourself, or does the school help? That's a good question. So when you go to a school, there will already be some activities that have been established before and that you're free to join. But I think you also very much have the freedom, if you have an idea that hasn't been implemented yet, to take initiative and start your own CAS projects or activities or initiatives, whatever. And I think in many ways you will get support from your peers and your teachers, but UWC in many ways encourages you to take responsibility and learn without making your own project. So I think the choice is yours. I think many students start their own projects just because they're passionate about things, and in many cases they're taken over many years. So if you have a great idea, we look forward to having you implement it in your school.
And you started your own activity, right?
Yes, I did.
AC.
I think you need to choose, if I remember correctly now, you need to choose one service at minimum out of the services that are there, and there's 3 activities. Am I correct? Did you do the same in Thailand?
I think that's different in every school.
Okay. Generally, when I started, I jumped at everything, and everything was so cool and so interesting. So I joined 2 services and 100 activities, and even started my own activity, which was the Palestinian traditional dance. So we joined with a few other people, and we created some show that will definitely be needed every once in a while at UWC.
Great, good stuff. We have another question from Kalisa. Is the scholarship guaranteed? So I'll just maybe recap very briefly that the selection process and the awarding of scholarships are 2 different processes. So once you've been selected, once you've been found suitable for UWC and UWC wants you, we then speak, or the National Committee then speaks with the family about the financial need that exists, and we do a financial needs assessment. So what we try to do is to award the scholarship that is necessary for a particular family, but we also expect from the family to contribute to the cost of the education, and that is based on a very structured financial needs assessment that the National Committee administers once somebody has been selected.
Okay. Next question from Mata. Hello, Mata. What if you have been selected for a scholarship from USA months ago and know you want to apply to UWC? Is it an advantage or a disadvantage that you have already traveled with a scholarship before?
Okay. I'm assuming this is a scholarship from the USA, not from our school in the USA. So this reminds me of a question that came up yesterday when somebody asked, do you have to have traveled a lot in order to be suitable for UWC? So maybe let's have an answer that brings both of those together.
Yes, I think, like you said, we talked about this yesterday, and I think it's great if you have traveled before, but it's not a requirement. When you travel, you have certain experiences and you learn a lot about different cultures, but I think it is more the inherent curiosity and interest that you have for these things rather than the experience you necessarily have gained from travel. So I think if you have been to the US on a scholarship before, I think that's, if you have, that'll make you have things to talk about and interests, and I think that's great, but others who maybe haven't had these experiences before, it's definitely not a disadvantage. What would
Great.
you say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that covers it. Just as a reminder, you are with UWC International for our Facebook Live event. It's great that you could join us. If you like what you're seeing and hearing, please share and like. We're also recording this session and a session we ran yesterday, so you can you can check back the recording on Facebook, and it'll also be on YouTube later on today. Let's go to the next question from Vincent. And first, also Kachik, welcome to Kachik. Thank you for joining us. Vincent asks, is any tutor facility available in UWC? So tutor, I suppose, means additional academic support outside of the classroom.
Yeah. Yes, there is many different tutors available. You have what we call, at least at UWC Atlantic College, I know that they call them different names. We have the house parent who's available at the house for different kind of matters. We have the academic tutor that we used to meet once a week with and discuss our academic scores and subjects. What are we struggling with, and how can we get help with that? We had also a tutor for applying to universities and advice. I think it was at least every week that we can meet with them and ask what kind of schools, universities, options, and scholarships, and what other tutors?
What about peer support? We had
Peer
a lot
support?
We had peer supporters, so we had it for language, for non-native speakers who needed academic extra support from your peers, and just academic support from perhaps students who were doing really well in their subjects. And I think that's really nice, having academic support from your teachers, but also being able to talk to your peers, because it's just a different dynamic, and I think a lot of people feel more comfortable with that. And like you said, house parents are always available, and a lot of your house parents and house mentors will also be teachers. So if you're doing homework and you need questions, it's different than in a non-boarding school, because you can just knock at their door and they will help you with your homework. Yeah.
I think another aspect would be important is the psychological aspect at UWC, and there is always a psychologist that you can approach and discuss any difficulties and challenges that you're facing at UWC.
Good. So, Kachik, welcome again. Your question is, I think you mean subjects. Are the subjects different in each college? Are there economics type subjects? So are these subjects different in each college? They are. So different colleges offer different subjects, but each college offers the range of subjects that enables you to do the International Baccalaureate Diploma Program, which, as Sarah said earlier, covers 6 subjects, 3 at the higher level, 3 at the standard level. So if you compare the IB, the diploma program, to some other programs, the diploma program stays quite broad, and it requires its students to cover those 6 subjects for the 2 years, and economics is included in those subjects in one of the groups. Kalisha, let's read this question. How many universities does UWC have? And I'm 19 years old now, and the National Committee in my country says under 18 and 16 you'll be able to attend the UWC program. Good question, Kalisha. Thank you for asking it. UWC, United World Colleges, are not universities. They are not universities. UWCs cover the last 2 years before you go to university. So the equivalent of A-levels. And some of our schools also have younger years. So you can join some of our schools at a younger age. So United World Colleges are not universities. And there's a question about the age as well. At most of our schools, you need to be at least 16 years old on the first day of school or on a certain day in that year in order to be able to join. Some of our schools can be a little bit flexible, but the general rule is you need to be 16 when you join a UWC? Thank you for the question, Kalisa. And if you are a little bit too old for UWC, best of luck in your university education. Okay, let's have a recap.
A quick recap of what has been covered so far. We have covered questions on selection criteria, international students options and where and how can they apply. We've also covered some CAS choices and activities and services at UWC. We have covered different subjects at UWC and what subjects can you choose and are they different at different schools and colleges. We have also answered the question on travel and if it's an advantage or not in the application process. Tutors, what kind of support is available for students, and then another on age eligibility for applying to UWC schools and colleges.
Okay.
Should we take one more question?
From Rima. Welcome, Rima. Hello.
Rima asks, can I apply for a college that is not offered in my country this year, like Canada? And in my application, I have to submit a recommendation of my teacher. So how can I submit it? Should I submit it from my computer? So I think there's two parts to that question.
Oh,
Maybe let's tackle the first one first.
Yes. So not all. So national committees offer places at. Let's rewind. Not all national committees offer places at all UWC schools and colleges. Yeah. So Rima's national committee might not this year be offering a place at Canada at Pearson UWC. If you are applying through the national committee, then that means you won't be able to be nominated for Canada. When you apply to UWC, you apply generally to UWC as a whole, so you don't apply to specific colleges. You can say, I would first like to go to this school, then that school, then that school. You can offer preferences, but we applicants apply to UWC as a whole. And it's quite important that you are ready to consider being nominated to any one of the UWCs. Okay. There is, under the Global Selection Program, you can apply just for a specific school. So you submit your application. The application is very, very similar to the National Committee application, but under the Global Selection Program, you can say, I just want to go to that school. 15 of our 17 schools are available through the Global Selection Program. We always encourage Global Selection Program applicants to apply to more than one school. So the typical applicant applies to 3 schools at the moment, and we encourage people to do that for sure. So I hope that answers Rima's question.
That's the first question. I think the second one is about submitting a recommendation of her teacher, which I think you need to get in touch with your national committee and ask on how would they like to receive that. Maybe they would like to receive it straight from the teacher, or maybe you to submit it via your computer or a printed copy. It's different across all the national committees. Should we go for one more question?
Yeah.
Vincent, go ahead.
Vincent asks, after the application process in stage 2, there are 2 things for selection, interview and group discussion. I'm clear about the interview, but what is in the group discussion? How should we prepare for it?
Okay, so Vincent might be talking about his particular national committee. It's important to say that different national committees run slightly different application selection processes, but they are all based on our 5 core selection criteria, which we have on our website, and that will come up on the screen in a second. So generally speaking, a selection day or weekend might involve interviews and then group activities. Those could be discussions, those could be games. It really depends which national committee you are applying through. My advice would be, don't prepare for the group activities. Okay, so your national committee might ask you to prepare for a discussion. So they might say to you, please prepare a 3-minute presentation on a topic. In that case, that you need to prepare. But don't worry about the elements of the selection process that you haven't been told about. Just go with it and be yourself. Yeah. So I think that's the best advice that we can give.
Those would be fun activities,
Yeah.
on, just experiencing UWC in one day and letting you know how does it feel to be at the UWC, what kind of regular things happen on a daily basis. It will also help not just the interviewer to learn about you, but you to learn if this is the right choice for you, if this is the environment that you would like to be in at UWC.
And sorry, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to add to that. I think over-preparing might do the opposite of what you want to achieve. You might be tense, or you might not come across as authentic as you might like to. So I just wanted to add that it might not be an advantage to over-prepare.
Yes.
Sorry, go ahead.
Great. Yeah, I was going to say that we've had feedback from people who came to selection days who said, whatever the outcome, whether I get in or not, I had a fantastic day. So the candidates create a mini UWC experience on the day, which is a wonderful thing. So good. So there's a very specific question from Rima about her brother. He will be 16 years old on the 3rd of September 2019. Can he join UWC? He can apply to join UWC for entry in 2019 or January 2020 at our Waterford Kamklaba campus. And if he's 16 on the 3rd of September, that makes him eligible for pretty much all of the
most of them will be eligible, but some start their term a little bit earlier, which means he will not be able to join those schools. But if you get in touch with your national committee, they have all of this information available at hand, and exactly they can tell you which UWC college or school can your brother apply to.
Yeah. We have a question here from Kalisa, which I'm not sure I understand that question. Kalisa, you are asking who are in the coordinating process? Who is in the coordinating process?
I think she's asking about the selection process.
Well,
Who are the selectors?
There we go.
Do you guys want to answer that? Or?
Yeah, I guess the selection committee or the national committee are made out of mostly volunteers who are giving their time to select the students for UWC schools and colleges. They're experienced selectors. I think mostly they're made out of the alumni community, the students who have been to UWC. In some cases they're not, but mostly they are. What else can we see about the selection committee?
I think you pretty much covered it.
You covered it.
Yeah.
I think, yeah. Great.
Okay.
Well, thank you for that. Thank you for that question, Kalisa. I have another question from Kalisa. She says, I'm 19 years old due to lack of school fees. I spent 3 years not in school. So am I suitable for UWC? Because at my school, I'm going to be in grade 12. So UWCs, when you apply through a national committee or the global selection process, you apply for year 11. So that is the second last year of your schooling before you go to university. Our schools and colleges tend to have also an upper age limit when people enter, but some of our schools and colleges are a little bit more flexible. So being relatively old does not necessarily preclude you from applying. Kalisa, what you might want to do is to contact us on apply1@uwcio.uwc.org, which will display in the screen in a minute, and we'll be able to advise you further. So it's a very good but very specific question.
We have another one from Afar.
Our friend Afar.
Hi Afar, he joined us yesterday. Welcome back.
So he's asking, if someone is selected, will he live with a host family? Good question, but no. You will live on the school campus, or if the school the school has an open campus, in the boarding houses. So it is boarding facilities with house parents, mentors, the whole lot, and there might be some host families available during throughout the term if you want to spend a weekend away, or throughout the holidays if you choose not to go home. But in general, you will be living with your peers in the boarding house.
Yeah,
and you'll be sharing too.
Yeah,
Sharing
in the
rooms
rooms,
as well.
yes.
At least in 16 of the schools and colleges,
Yeah.
not in UWC Waterford, but you will be sharing with cool other students.
And that's a very important part of the UWC experience as well.
Yes. All right.
Okay, let's have one or two questions. Actually, no, let's go to a quick recap.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we went through the selection day and what happens throughout a normal selection day. It is in general, it varies across different national committees and the global selection program. We also went more specifically into the group activities and what happens throughout the group scorings. And then we answered another question on age eligibility and whether we live on campus or with a host family while at UWC.
Okay.
I think we have 10 more minutes left for this live video, so please share and like this video. If you have just joined us now, this is our second live video to answer questions about EWC. This will also be available on Facebook and on YouTube shortly after we finish. And if you still have questions that hasn't been covered in those two live videos, please send it to our email address that will be displayed, or is this being displayed now. Shall we take a few more questions before we wrap
Probably
up?
have time for maybe three more. Yeah.
3 more? Okay.
Let's go for it.
Go
Should
ahead.
we, so Izzy asked, if you don't do extracurricular activities at school, will it have an impact on being selected? So I think we answered a similar question before about extracurricular activities, and like I said then, you don't necessarily have to have done big extracurricular activities. You can also have done smaller projects or things that you've done within your communities or perhaps even your family that you have learned things from or that you're passionate about. It is just important that for the interviews and for the application you bring in, you can talk about things that you've done and things that you're interested in and that you can relate to the UWC mission and the values that UWC kind of represents. So as long as you can do that, I'm sure you will be fine.
And it doesn't have to be at school. Yeah? It doesn't have to be organized activities. It might be from your family, from your neighborhood. What's important is that you show how you live some of the UWC values and how you would take them further if you were selected. If you are wondering about the selection criteria, we have them on our website. We have 5 core selection criteria that are on the screen right now. So do have a good read of those. They give you all the information on what we are looking for. There's a question which comes both from Lakshmi and from Afaq, which is about the national committee route and the global selection route. And the question is, if you aren't selected in the national committee route, can you apply through the global selection program? And Lakshmi, in a related question, asked, can you apply through both? The answer is no. You can only submit one application per year. You need to decide whether you apply through the national committee route or the global selection program route. If you're unsuccessful this year, or in a given year, you can apply again in the following year. But in the same year, you can only submit one application. If you're trying to make up your mind between ENS national committee route and global selection route, we have a very handy comparison table on our website, which shows you how things work on both of these application routes. Okay, I think we have time for another couple of questions. Do you have, this is a question from Kartik, thank you for the question. Do you have any suggestions for university after college? And thank you very much for the answers. You're very welcome, Kartik. We're really happy to answer everyone's questions. So UWC and universities. UWC is quite well known amongst many universities across the world, including universities in the US and the UK and in Canada. And also the International Baccalaureate is very well known. It's a very popular program across the world in around 4,000 schools. So universities are very open towards applications from UWC students, and in many cases they know of UWC already, so it's a good next step. We don't recommend any specific university after UWC. That is really down to you. But if you are selected and if you go to a UWC, there will be a university counselor available at your school to advise you on your next steps. Did you make use of the counselor's service? Do you want to say a little bit?
I think our university counselors in all schools and colleges have a very important role because they help guide you in your decisions, because it is a big decision whether you want to go back to your home country, whether you want to go to maybe an international university somewhere. So I think having support from someone who really knows the processes, especially as someone who maybe doesn't have parents that have gone to university, for someone who's new to the process, is quite useful. And they're all trained, as far as I know, and so they really know how to help you.
Okay. Did you get advice on your university?
Yes, I needed that advice a lot, because suddenly I can apply to any university in the world, and I just needed to understand how do I choose the right university for the topic or subject that I'm trying to go for. And the tutor was really helpful in trying to help me limit my choices and down to 10 because you have a huge number that you would like to attend, but how to really choose the ones that will make a difference to your application and your life.
Great, thank you. We'll go to a question that's been pre-submitted, and the question is and we'll end on this question for this session. The question is, what does a typical day at a UWC look like? What was your typical day like?
It was a lot of fun. There was something you learn every day. From a typical day in the morning, you'll have your classes or subjects. We call them codes at UWC Atlantic College. And then you have a lunchtime, which is different across UWC schools and colleges. If you go to UWC Thailand, you will have an amazing lunch, including coconut ice cream. And then another session of classes after lunch. And then after that, you have space for the services and activities that you're joining, and then after that you'll have a free time to hang out probably at the house, or different things happen during the day. Sometimes you have different shows that are organized by different nationalities that are being there.
And the afternoon is often also for service activities out in the community. Homework, I wouldn't forget homework, I suppose. What else was involved in a typical day?
So at UWC Thailand, for example, each morning we started it with a mindful moment, because we have a focus on mindfulness and meditation and social learning. So we would start every morning with 20 minutes of meditation, and then we would start our classes. And then we'd have a lunch break, like Izzat said, and some more classes, and then you get to the really fun part. Not that the classes aren't fun, but then you get to work on your projects and your activities and your cast till the evening, and you'd go off and have dinner, and then in the evenings you'd sit with your friends, have discussions, stay up late, work on things together, and like Izzat said, different cultural evenings were sometimes organized, so all good fun and a lot of learning in many different ways.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. Well, thank you for that. That's all we have time for today. If you've enjoyed the session, please make sure you like it and share it with your friends. We have recorded both this session and the session that we held yesterday, so they are available on our Facebook and also will be available on YouTube before too long. And if we didn't get to your question, apologies, but you can always contact us via apply1@uwcio.uwc.org, which is the email address that is being displayed at the bottom of the page right now. We'd be delighted to hear from you. So thank you very much for spending the past hour with us and for all your great questions. And also, I've seen in the comments that some people have found this session very helpful. So that's fantastic to hear. So thank you very much, and have a good day or evening or wherever you might be. Thanks for and apply.
Yeah, that's it.
All right, take care, everyone.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.